So first of all, thank you very much for that warm welcome. I was really on the ball there. I knew exactly where I was. So thank you very much for having me here. It is an absolute honour, and I was telling Bruno many times I've been really excited about this event, and I do a lot of speaking, and this is one of the favourite things I've been looking forward to all year. So thank you very much for welcoming me here. We're going to be looking at kindness. We're going to be looking at understanding our past and looking at how that can empower us forward in terms of the future. I've got various different slides and stuff, and they're all available. I put a special web page up for you, and they're all available at 5 Institute RCN 2017. So just 5 Institute, which is in the bottom of your workbook, and then just put RCN 2017. It'll take all the slides for you, plus some other bits and pieces I'm intending to give you. So this is me. This is me aged 5, and at age 5 I was fostered. I was put into around different families for about a year and a bit, and compared to some people's experience of being fostered around, it was not too bad. I was in loving families, things were absolutely fine. But the problem was the story I told myself at 5 as to why I had been fostered around wasn't that helpful for me as an individual, and created consequences for me as I ran through my life. So the story I told myself at 5 was that I'd been fostered because I wasn't any good, I wasn't wanted, I'd made a terrible mistake. If any of you have dealt with anything to do with fostering, you know that's a classic thing that happens, or when parents split up, or lots of stuff. So I was running with a really heavy story about me, that I was useless, I wasn't wanted, I was rubbish, and I developed lots of... They entered into things. Other things went on, but that's how they entered into their world, and that's what made a fundamental difference. And we're going to look at Nelson Mandela later in terms of how he did it, but Barack Obama again. So do you agree with me? There is a spirit in which you can enter into things, yeah? And we can see an absence of it in 2 of them, and an abundance of it in 2 of them. Okay? So that's the fundamental thing. At the 5 Institute, which is what I founded, we basically believe the world needs more kindness. And that's the fundamental key for solving lots of different problems. For me, for my individual purpose, that I want everyone in the world to have someone that's there for them, kindness is the best way for me to do that. Okay? And I also think it solves lots of other different problems as well. So should we just look at kindness for a minute, yeah? Okay. So, kindness, I think of it occupying the space between love and compassion. It's an interesting word, kindness, because compassion, often it is kind of, I am being compassionate to you because I can see where you're coming from and how things are for you, so I'm being compassionate towards you, whereas kindness is coming from this level. So I think of it as occupying that space between love and compassion. That's where it fundamentally lives. And this is how I think of kindness and how I kind of define kindness myself. It's the art of being considerate to yourself, others, and the planet in equal measure. So that's some really important words in there. It's about being considerate or kind to others, the planet, to yourself, others, and the planet in equal measure. We're often really, really good at being kind to others, and we're often really, really bad at being kind to ourselves. Or we think, if I'm being kind to someone else, I'm not necessarily, it's harder to be kind to me. This aspect of sacrifice. My background is Chinese medicine. I practiced acupuncture for 35 years. I'm married to a nurse. I get, from my perspective, and I don't know, I can't say from yours, but I get our challenge isn't whether we can give enough. Our challenge is whether or not we actually give too much, and we move from giving into sacrifice. Does anyone have that experience that they struggle getting it right between giving and sacrifice? Does anyone have that? Yeah, I mean, it's a problem we have within the health profession, that we drift into giving more and sacrificing ourselves. So some of this work is trying to get us to give, but not to sacrifice, to be kind to ourselves as well as others and as well as the planet. We have something we call your kind set. And your kind set is similar to your, they talk about people having a certain mindset, a certain way of thinking. So we believe that we have a certain kind set, a certain way of thinking and acting in terms of kindness. And some people have a very healthy kind set, in the same way they have a healthy mindset. And some people have a very unhealthy kind set, or a kind set that needs to be developed. So we think a healthy kind set would be having a healthy kind set is the ability to be equally kind to yourself, others, and the planet. It's the same thing as definition of kindness. Now, if you look in your book, in your booklet, on the first page, there is a section there, having a healthy kind set means, and for us it means being equally kind to yourself, others, and the planet, ideally all at the same time. Now, who thinks that's easy to do? Who thinks it's tough to do? Who thinks it's hard? Yeah, it is. It's a challenge. Any of these things, developing a way of thinking, is really difficult because we have lots of blocks that stop us from doing it. Lots of blocks beliefs that we have going on, lots of stories we have going on that create this issue around the ability to be equally kind to ourselves. One of the questions I ask all the time is, I say, when I'm approaching a situation, I say, is this kind to me? Is this kind to others? And is this kind to the planet? And that's the kind of ongoing dialogue I have in my head. And trying to get that balance right so I don't become ill, and yet I still make a difference. So the fundamental question, is this kind to me? Is this kind to other people? And is this kind to the planet? One of the reasons I think that we really, really struggle to be kind to ourselves, or equally kind to ourselves, or look after ourselves and not give away, is that we often struggle to value ourselves. We often struggle to love ourselves fully and deeply. And we often struggle to make ourselves okay. We have lots of stories going on in our heads that make us not okay. And so, who here has ever struggled with truly valuing themselves? I put my hand up. I'm that one. Okay. Some of the reason I think that some of the reason we often struggle to value ourselves, and why we have the picture of I have the picture of the butterfly there, is because a butterfly is fundamentally standing there with its wings like this, and it looks down and it sees a slightly fat, grey, hairy body. It doesn't see what other people see. And that's our fundamental challenge as human beings. We just don't see what other people see. And we devalue what it is that we do most brilliantly, because the stuff we do most brilliantly is actually the stuff we do most naturally. So our most natural brilliance and skills are so easy for us that we think, oh no, it's nothing. So if you listen to someone and you spend some time listening to people or caring for them or coming up with an idea, someone has a problem, a friend of yours has a problem, and they say, oh, can you help me with this? You go, yeah. Well, what you could do is this, or what you could do is this. And you come up with ideas, or you listen to them, or you consider it to them, or some other quality that you give them. And they say, oh, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that. You go, oh, it was nothing. And you dismiss it, because for you it was nothing, because what you did was what you do most naturally, which might be coming up with ideas, or good at listening, or considerate, or pointing out the problems, or being able to see into the future. All of those things you do naturally, but for someone else it really matters. So that's what one of the... Hi. God, I sound sexy, don't I? Bruno's just given me a sexy transplant. Wow. Don't you sometimes wish things were like this all the time? Right, okay. This is better. Not only am I sexier, but you can hear me. Yeah, so are we getting this so far? Is this making sense so far, that we will sometimes really struggle to see our brilliance because actually it's what we do most naturally? It's what we do most easily? Okay, so what I want to do now is because we're going to be doing some work looking at what we do most naturally and how we can keep that brilliance shining. Okay, so this thing is about seeing each other for who we truly are and truly recognizing each other. This comes from Natal in South Africa, and we do a lot of work in South Africa, and this is a greeting. And the greeting was stolen in the film Avatar. They used the same thing, but it was stolen from this. And the greeting is really simple. Can I have a volunteer? Just one? Thank you. Clearly the sexy voice worked. Come on, friend. So this is a really simple greeting. So we basically do so what's your name? Emmanuel. So when I see Emmanuel, what I do is I come up to him and I say, and I look into his eyes. I look into his eyes and I say, I see you. And then Emmanuel replies, yes, I am here. And what he's fundamentally doing is acknowledging my existence, and I'm acknowledging that I've been seen. So I say, I see you.
Yes, I am here.
And then Emmanuel says to me,
I see you.
yes, I am here. And what it's fundamentally designed to do is for me to see Emmanuel, and for Emmanuel to see me, and us to acknowledge that we have been seen by each other. That makes sense? Okay. So, thank you very much, Emmanuel. So what I want you to do is just do this with a couple of people, and then have a go at doing this in the break. We're about to take a break in a few minutes' time. So what you want to do is stand up now. Okay. Come someone, and I didn't do it with Emmanuel because it would have been wrong, but ideally hold their hands. Okay? And this is about truly seeing the person. Okay? So, I see you. Yes, I am here. Okay. Now, do we sit down now? I would encourage you to during the break or at lunch and different times, I would encourage you in a non-creepy way to go round to other people, to people you don't know, and to hold them by their hands and say, I see you. And for them to say, yes, I am here. And you have to acknowledge, yes, I'm here for you. There's nothing else in the room other than you two in that moment, and you have been seen, and you have acknowledged that you've been here. So I would encourage you as a way to get to know people, and just as an experience to total strangers, to see them for who they are. Because what we're going to be doing is, in the second half, is we're going to be looking at who you truly are and how to keep that utter brilliance on track. Now, a thought for you to form in your mind, okay, is that in the workbook, I've got a question. One of the questions is, what do you do most naturally that people thank you for? Okay? And I want you to just have that question running in your mind. What do you do most naturally that people thank you for? So thank you for listening, thank you for the ideas, thank you for pointing that out. Whatever it is, you will do something naturally that people constantly thank you for. And I want you to start to think what that might be. Okay? So that's Mr. Sexy out now, over and in. Okay? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I have a... do people have a nightmare that they have over and over again? Repeating nightmare? Yeah, should I tell you my one? My one is I'm speaking at an event, and before I go up on stage, someone already delivers what I'm about to say. That's part one of the nightmare. Part two of the nightmare is that the microphone doesn't work. And part three of the nightmare is I'm in fact naked. So that's why when the microphone wasn't working, I kept on going. So I know we're going to give feedback about this event. Be kind about the microphone because they've got it working in the end, yeah? Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into this next section where have you enjoyed the stuff about kindness? This idea about just thinking, you know what, if we entered things into things, anything in the spirit of kindness, how would that change the world? It would change everything, wouldn't it? So we're going to be building on that, and we're going to be building on the aspect of why we sometimes struggle to be kind to ourselves, and how we recognize our own value, and then how we could perhaps use that to create some incredible future. So, how do you get on thinking about this question about what do people thank you for? What is it that you do naturally that people keep thanking you for? Okay? Can I would be all right to have a couple of examples of what came into people's minds? So, hand up. I was about to make some amusing comment, but I forgot what it was. Is this working?
That mic back.
Are you? Do you want to do it?
No, you have that one. I'll have this one.
Okay.
I like this one.
Oh, just being a good listener.
So a good listener. Great. Who else has the kind of... Is that you or me, Bruno? Yeah, thank you. Ruining my set. So, good listener. That is absolutely priceless, isn't it, to be able to listen? And do you find it hard to listen? No. It's what you do naturally. Do you value that? Yeah. So that's... What else have people got? Emmanuel, clearly hogging the stage again.
Making myself available.
Making himself available. That's true, though. I found that invaluable. He came up on stage and said, yeah, I'll do this exercise with you. I thank you for that. Round of applause. Woo. What else have we got? Who else has got something that they...
Express a certain calmness.
Express a certain calmness. Hey, how good's that? Round of applause. Okay, we'll take two more. This is when they realise I'm in fact bald.
Acknowledging people, make them feel valued.
I love that one. Acknowledging people and make them feel valued. Yeah? We'll do one more.
Understanding.
For being understanding. Again, that's just genius, isn't it? So, And that, again, is natural to you. You just do it. The point I'm making with this really is that those things that we do that we're being thanked for, and we do naturally, are not complicated, are they? They don't fundamentally cost you anything, but to someone else, so to listen, to be understanding, to volunteering, to seeing them, whatever it is fundamentally incredibly valuable to someone else, but it's natural to us, so therefore we sometimes devalue it. So what I want you to do is just to really appreciate the things that you do naturally are incredibly valuable to someone else, but you are likely to not value it to the extent that you should. That makes sense? Okay. So what I want you to do is really hold that thought of not dismissing these things. Okay? Shall I show you the classic thing that people do when this goes on? Can I have another volunteer? Nah. Beverly. So this is a classic one that goes on in terms of being thanked, and this is what goes on. So I've been really kind and I've been really helpful to Beverly and etc. And Beverly's gone out and she's bought me a card. And Beverly's taken a lot of time writing this card. And she said, "Oh, Nick, I just want to thank you very much for helping me in a difficult situation." And she's written this lovely card to me. And so she's got this card and she's going to give it to me.
Thank you very much, Nick, for all your help. Here's a card for you.
Right. Now, that is exactly what happens when people thank us. Because when Beverly thanks me for something, so thank me for something else.
Thank you so much, Nick. You were so good.
Oh, that's nothing. It was all you. You did it all yourself. It's all about you. Do you get what's going on? I am not taking that thanks on board. I am just going, it was you, it's my job, it's what I'm here for. Who's heard themselves say those things over and over again? Yeah? So, but that is equivalent of Beverly giving me the card and me going like that. That's her experience of me going, oh, it was nothing. So if we do it differently, okay, thank me again.
Nick, I just really want to thank you. You were so good last week.
Really? So the ideal response to that is I just go, and this is what I'll do it. I put my hand on my heart, so she sees it, and I just go, thank you. That really matters to me. In fact, you said that to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's a different experience for you, isn't it? Me saying, oh, thank you, Beverly. I really appreciate you saying that. That really matters to me. Thank you. That's a different experience, isn't it? Than going, it was you, it was whatever. So and it's a different experience for me, because what I'm fundamentally doing is I'm going like this and I'm holding on to what she's said as opposed to just dismissing it. Okay? So when someone thanks you for what you do most naturally, then you say, oh, thank you, that was my pleasure. Anytime. Well, obviously careful about the anytime, because I clearly don't know what went on last night, but evidently I was pretty good. There you go. Thank you very much, Beverly. Okay, we're going to move on to some weird and wacky stuff now. We're going to be looking at some ancient Chinese philosophy. And this is the backbone of what we do at the Five Institute. We're going to be looking at the five energies which come from ancient China. And they were used 3,000 years ago. And they were used by the emperors and the kings. And they were used they were used in politics, they were used in economics, they were used in education. They were used in personal development, they were used in schools, they were used in warfare, they were used in health, they were used in all sorts of ways. And very, very powerfully. And then over a 15-year period, 3,000 years ago, all this information was lost. And we know it existed because it was in all the library records, and the only part that it remained in was within health, which is where I came in with my acupuncture and this information. So this information I've got has come from health, but we're using it to apply in terms of how we see ourselves and how we value ourselves. So we're going to be using these 5 energies in order for you to be able to see your value and appreciate your value. So the 5 Institute, has anyone here has anyone here taken the vitality test? Got a few people? Okay. The vitality test is completely free. And on the page that I gave you, there's a link. In the emails that you were sent out, there's a link. It doesn't matter that you didn't take it, but I'm hoping once you've taken it, once you've heard this, you'll think, I want to take the vitality test, and I actually would like to understand myself a bit better. Because this is a way to understand yourself and a way to understand your utter brilliance and to understand the challenges that you might face in life. So that's what this is about. So what I want you to do is just listen to this. Even though you've not taken it, you'll be able to recognize yourself. The 5 Institute, basically kindness sits at the heart of everything we do. The reason I've got this Viking ship is that we've got a lot of the Nordic countries, a lot of the Scandinavia, Norway, Iceland, they're picking up on a lot of this because it's a way to really understand each other, get teams working, help with using it in politics, in schools, in lots of different ways. So we have... My view is if you want to conquer the world with an idea, and that's what we want to do, conquer the world with the idea of kindness, it's an awfully good idea to have a lot of Vikings on your side. Saying that, we have lots of Vikings in South Africa and lots of things all over the world. So we are on a big mission. As I said, the 5 energies are a way to understand what makes you utterly brilliant. And we're going to go through each of the energies, and we're going to... I'm sorry, these slides haven't quite look a bit odd. We're going to go through each of these energies, and we're going to look at the qualities in them and what makes each person brilliant. Okay? We have all 5 energies within us, so we're a blend of them. So when you listen to one energy, you think, oh, that's me, that's how I operate. Or you might think, oh, that's not me, but I know someone that is. Or you might listen to every energy and think, oh, I've got a bit of all of that in me. And that will be true. But you probably have 1 or 2 energies that are dominant. And that's what makes you utterly brilliant. And we're going to go through this relatively quickly. So each energy is related to a particular season. So water energy is related to winter, and in winter we fundamentally live with the consequences of our actions. So water energy types, they're always thinking, okay, what's the consequence of this? How's this going to work out? How's this going to play out in the future? They're all the time thinking consequences. Every energy has an eternal question, a question that we have to ask over and over again. And when we find the answer to our eternal question, it kind of doesn't meet our need, and we have to ask the question again. So the eternal question for water energy types is, am I safe? Is it safe? So when I go to a hotel with my wife, or we go away somewhere, her first thing is, where's the fire exit? Because her fundamental core question is it safe? Are we safe? So she looks for the fire exit. When she worked on intensive care, she would always say, oh, I'm not sure that drips right. I think that's got a bit, this needs to be done here. So her brilliance on intensive care was that she was always saying, is this safe? What will be the consequences of that? Me, I'd be a disastrous on intensive care. Because on a hotel, I go, well, now, where's the bar? Now, I want to do this, and wonder we should go this, because I'm not interested in, is it safe? So that isn't my value. My value is ideas and coming up with different things. Hers is it safe? So if you ask that question, is it safe? That's a contribution that you make to the world. And you ask it eternally. And the answers you give will serve other people. The challenge with this is that in this world, we're all meant to be positive, aren't we? This whole movement, we need to have positive thinking and be upbeat and keeping on smiling. So people that say, well, that doesn't look very safe to me, they're not appreciated. Do you think that's true? So these discussions about Brexit, saying, oh, we need to be positive. No, we need to think of the consequences. Being positive isn't going to help that situation, just like in intensive care. So you've got to be really careful with these energies because society values some more than others. Is it safe is not always valued in conversations, apart from if it's done at the right time. So if you're a water energy type and you're asking this question, it can be a challenge for you. Every energy has an emotion. Water energy is fear. So they can be very fearful, or they can be utterly fearless, and they're constantly trying to, they do crazy things in order to work out whether or not they're safe. So they'll climb mountains to find the answer to their eternal question of, am I safe? So you might see a very risky person. Water energy is the only energy that leaves its mark on the earth. Think about the Grand Canyons and glaciers. As we get older, our water energy rises. It starts to increase. So we start to think, what do I want to leave behind? So this meeting has a water energy quality to it. We're about looking at our past, we're looking at our consequences, but we're looking about our legacy. And people with a lot of water energy will all the time be thinking, how will this play out and what will be end result? Water energy types are very reflective. They tend to think about things and how things will play out. Richard Branson is a typical water energy type. His brand and what he does, he makes us feel safe. We go up in his aeroplanes because all of his industries are really about safety. He's got a bit of fire energy, so that makes him have his media, but lots of his stuff, his aeroplanes, his things, he tries to make us feel safe. And he kind of does make us feel safe, and he's all the time trying to protect his brand, and that's where he comes from. He also goes out into space in a hot air balloon made of tinfoil and travels across the ocean at hundreds of miles an hour, and guess what he's trying to find out? Am I safe? Are we safe? So that's where he fundamentally comes from. This makes sense so far? See that? So does anyone think they might have some of this energy playing? Have we got any am I safe feelings coming here? So hence, when we talked about the fire bell going off, you all just carried on writing, ignored it? Okay, wood energy. Wood energy is related to spring, and in spring, it's fundamentally about things being new. That's what happens in spring. It's things are new. So people with a lot of wood energy will like innovation. They'll love new things. They may be highly creative, coming up with crazy ideas. They might be rebellious. So wood energy types, you're seeing rebellion, you're seeing creativity, you're seeing ideas. Their eternal question is, am I free? Are we free? So this whole idea of freedom is vitally important to them. So you meet people that say, oh, it's all about freedom and have a life that's free. For them, that's what really counts, freedom. Vitally important. Sometimes they'll test their freedom by trapping themselves somewhere and seeing whether they can escape. Their emotion is irritability or anger. Now, it could be that they could have an absolute absence of anger, as in the case of Mahatma Gandhi, who was a wood energy type, looked upon things differently. Adolf Hitler was also a wood energy type, about control and freedom, but he had issues. He was less of a good person. So I'm using this example because our energies don't decide on our morals. They just give us a certain way of being. So Mahatma Gandhi was a non-angry wood type, and Adolf Hitler was an angry wood type. One suppressed freedom and one created freedom, but there was something going on about freedom for them. In spring, this acorn absolutely, utterly knows that it's going to be an oak tree. It doesn't think it's going to be a sunflower, it doesn't think it's going to be a daffodil, and it doesn't think it's going to be a cabbage. It absolutely knows it's going to be an oak tree. So wood energy types absolutely know what they're going to do. And they will do anything. When they have a plan, they are absolutely unstoppable. And they'll do anything to make it happen. When they don't have a plan, they really can't get going and they're all over the place. So there's wood energy types, there's some plans going on. Martin Luther King, very typical wood energy type. He had a dream, he had a plan, he had a big vision, he had a creation, a different way of being. there was about freedom, a fight for freedom, a fight for injustice. So you'll see wood energy types will be fighting for freedom, for injustice, and there will be something going on about the rules. They might be challenging the rules. Or as in the case of Dr. Martin Luther King, he was very clear, if we stay within the rules, we will be able to create this revolution, this different way of seeing. So he's a typical wood energy type. Okay? Does anyone think they've got that wood energy, that kind of creativity, that revolution, that rebel, that side to them? Yeah, we've got a few hands. Okay. Next energy is fire energy. Fire energy is hot, it's summer. So fire energy types are passionate, they're hot, they're funny, they come from their heart. Fire is speedy and fast. So that's what fire energy types are. They're speedy, they're fast, they're hot, they're passionate, they're talkative. Their eternal question is, am I loved? Is there love? Their question is, am I loved? That's their question. Am I loved? Is there love? It can go over the top of love me, love me, love me, but it could just be, how is it between you? Are we kind of loving each other? Is this okay? Now, I absolutely adore this picture because both these two people have typical fire energy faces. Fire energy often makes things kind of turn upwards. So you can see in the corners of his mouth and his nose, and this lady here, you can see things are turning upwards. And that's typical of a fire energy type. Things will turn upwards and go upwards. But the question is, am I loved? Their emotion is joy and happiness. They love to talk, don't sometimes listen, but they love to talk. They can be brilliant at selecting the exact words, but they can also be terrible at saying yes to everything. Fire energy types will say yes. They'll go, would you like to do this? Oh, yes, that sounds fantastic. Oh, I'd love that. Oh, yes, marvelous. They're so enthusiastic, so passionate, they say yes to everything, and they make loads of promises. And in that moment, they are absolutely mean that what they say, and they're definitely going to do it. And then they have all these things that they've agreed to do, that they have said yes to. And the problem with that is it commonly leads to burnout. So fire, by its very nature, will tend to want to burn out. So we need to watch it. As fire energy types, you need to watch it. Ellen DeGeneres, typical fire energy types, she challenges things with humor. She tries to make a difference and by being funny, and she's funny, and that's how she does it. That's her fire energy at play. People warm to her, they feel that love. She's trying to work out, how's you feeling towards me? And she uses humor, typical of a fire energy type. Earth energy, this is a really important for one within the caring profession. Earth energy is related to late summer. Now, late summer, those are those lazy, hazy days when everything starts to slow down. Can I just say, with the fire energy, did we see any fire energy type? Anyone thinks, yeah, I've got a bit of that fire energy stuff going on? That's a really kind of, that's not a too shy lot. Fire energy types go, yes, definitely me. Oh, yes, yeah, love me. Over here, over here, over here. Remember, we can be a mixture of different things. So late summer, it's those earth energy, it's those lazy, hazy days when everything starts to slow down. And so earth energy types, it's about communication. There's time to talk. There's time to listen. There's time to have a depth of conversation that goes on. And that's what really matters to earth energy types, the ability to communicate, to understand, to have that time. Things are slower, and they are slower on purpose in order to make things right. So that's what earth energy types really love. In late summer, all the fruit starts to assimilate, come together. It becomes rich and edible. So earth energy types, there's some stuff going on about food. They might love to cook. They may love to look after people. They may love to nurture people. They may love to bring people together. That's their idea of a good time, to listen, to bring people together, to have food. They may struggle with their food issues themselves, but food is important. It really matters. Their emotion is empathy or sympathy. They'll do that endlessly. Mary Seacole, typical earth energy type. Lots of her stuff that she was doing, as well as nursing and caring for people, was about food and feeding and hotel and putting on things. But it was a fundamental earth energy experience that she was doing for people. to truly understand and experience people and feed and nurture and look after and support. And that's an essence of what some aspects of nursing is about. You've got to be careful of putting nursing into a single box of being earth energy, because it could be very innovative, wood energy, it could be very creative, it could be about fire energy, it could be about safety, it could be about many things, but earth energy is a vitally important energy. The eternal question for earth energy types is, do I understand and am I understood? Princess Diana was a typical earth energy type. She was wanting to listen to understand. Her issue became when she couldn't understand what was going on in the royal family and why Charles was having an affair with Camilla. So she started doing stuff with her eating, but she was fundamentally there and her desire to nurture and care for people. Nelson Mandela, typical earth energy type. What was his response when he came out after 27 years in prison? If he'd had any other energy, his response would have been different. Okay? His response was an earth energy response. How can we come together as a nation? What was his response to what went on between people was to have the truth and reconciliation, to try and understand what went on. And he got Desmond Tutu with lots of fire energy to kind of bring a lightness to it. But his desire and his solution to South Africa was an earth energy response. And that's why he's probably one of the greatest leaders we've ever seen. But that was an earth energy response. It wasn't a wood energy, I'm so angry, I'm going to have revenge. He didn't do that. He said, how can we come together? That's what he did. And that's why he was utterly brilliant and utterly, utterly brilliant. Metal energy. Metal energy. That means metal energy, okay? Metal energy is related to autumn. And in autumn, things are fundamentally ending. Things are finishing. The eternal question for metal energy types is what's missing? What isn't there? What needs to be complete? So one of the real challenges for metal energy types is things are going really well, and then they say, yeah, but you haven't done this. This isn't right. This isn't okay. You still need to do this. Oh, God, you're so negative. Look at them the whole time. Whenever things are going well, they're always saying this hasn't been done. But it's your natural ability to see what's missing. You just need to be able to be given a space. So like I said, my wife has lots and lots of water energy. But she has lots of metal energy. You can say, okay, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this still hasn't been done. And that matters when you're in a high area like intensive care. It's less, we'll edit this bit out of the film, yeah? It works less at home, doesn't work quite as well at home, I have to say. But I know where she comes from. When she says, you haven't done this, you missed this, and I say, yeah, but what about the other things I have done? Yeah, I know those, but you didn't do this, you missed this one out. It's where she comes from, and that is her utter brilliance. They're always searching for what's missing. That's what they fundamentally do. Their emotion is loss and grief. They love efficiency. In ancient China, they always put people with a lot of metal energy in charge of the harvest because they absolutely and utterly hate waste. They won't let any waste happen. They'll control waste. They'll always be trying to work out what's the value of this and what's the value of that. And they'll often use numbers to do that. Our problem, this is a bit of a slight little bit of detour around. One of our challenges is that within the NHS, we're doing a metal energy job on it, aren't we? We're trying to work out, get rid of waste, measure everything, and do. We've forgotten that we should be introducing that earth energy, caring, nurturing, understanding, listening, looking after, supporting, all those earth energy traits. We should also be innovating. We should also be protecting people, making sure they're safe. We should also be making it a joyous place to work. We should have all those other energies within the NHS. And what do? We do a metal energy job on it, because that's what commonly happens. So they say we need to have more care and compassion in the NHS, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure that to see how it works out. How's that ever going to work out? Metal energy types, typical ones are Kate Moss, Johnny Depp. Models or actors often have models particularly often have a lot of metal energy, because there's a distance to them that we think, oh my goodness, look at them, you imagine what they might be like. Metal energy also hates waste, so you'll often see they're not like me. I've got a lot of wasted skin. Can you see it? A lot of wasted skin. They don't have any wasted skin. And Johnny Depp, all the roles he plays are all slightly distant, aren't they? Everything he plays is slightly distant. That's because he has a lot of metal energy. Theresa May, a lot of metal energy. That's why we struggle with. That's why the politicians struggle with her, because most of politicians, like Boris, are love me, lots of fire energy, vote for me, aren't I fantastic? And Theresa May says, can we just actually just go away and think about this for a bit more and see how it fits together? She does earth energy, metal energy. They really struggle with that, but that is her value, and that's what she's like. Interestingly, every energy has a weakness in their body. Metal energy, their weakness is their lungs. So what a surprise, she started to get more and more lung issues going on as she gets under more stress. But enough sympathy for Theresa May. Okay, that's my energy profile. And I'm a mixture between wood energy, so I like to challenge the way things are done, to be innovative. I've got a fire energy. I like to move around. I'm very expansive in my thinking. But my third energy is earth energy, of how can we come together. So that's where the kindness comes from, the desire to come together in a way that works for everybody. We're going to, that makes sense? Okay. Did people start to get a bit of a sense of what energy they might have and how some of these energies might lead to misunderstandings, that actually we were a troublemaker or we're different, and can you see that in every single one there is a value in the right place? Can people see that? There's a value in every single situation. So take the vitality test and you'll start to understand a bit more about yourself. So, shining brightly, your glowing legacy. One of the big challenges that we have is valuing ourselves, loving ourselves, and this most important thing, making ourselves okay. Metal energy, the 5 energies are really important as a way to understand what's going on in our head. Do you remember right at the beginning, I talked about me having lots of anxiety, low self-esteem, not feeling valued, and trying to find ways to be okay with myself, to actually like myself, to think I was okay, to not worry about mistakes. So this next bit is, how do we get to be the most brilliant versions of ourselves? We can use the energies to understand where our brilliance comes from, but this next section is looking at how do we actually get our heads in the right space in order to be our most brilliant. Now, the Chinese energies are a good way to look at what's going on inside of our head. And don't worry about necessarily the association with each energy, but just recognize that we've got these different things going on in our head. We've got our willpower. Who's got a lot of willpower? Who's got unstoppable willpower? That's an interesting question, that. Who's got unstoppable? If your family were, or someone you loved were in danger, and they said you have to walk 100 miles, who would walk 100 miles? Who's got unstoppable willpower? It's context. That's all it is context. You all have unstoppable willpower. It's just context. So we have our willpower. We have our imagination. We have our conscious mind. We have our intellect, what we understand intellectually, and then we have the big one. We have our unconscious, our subconscious, our non-conscious mind that's sitting there. Okay? So this is going on within all of us. Okay? Now, these are in different colors because there's a different thing that goes on. And it is that our willpower, our conscious mind, and our intellect will understand statements. So you can go, come on, I can do this. And they'll understand questions. Why can we do this? They'll understand statements and questions. They'll hear both. However, our imagination and our non-conscious mind, they only ever hear questions. That's what they hear, is they hear questions, they don't hear statements. Shall I explain why it's virtually impossible to come out of your childhood with a good sense of self-esteem? That's a big statement. It is virtually impossible to feel good about yourself as a result of your childhood. Okay? And I mean truly good about yourself. And that's because this is happening. Your self-esteem, self-mastery, this is what's happening, is most of the good things that are said about you are said in the form of a statements. That's good, that's a nice painting, well done, that looks good. They're all statements. So you hear it consciously, you hear it intellectually, but your unconscious mind, which houses all your deep beliefs, just doesn't hear any of that stuff. Doesn't hear it. Doesn't just not hear it, so it's not in your unconscious mind at all. However, most of the bad things that are said about you are put in the form of questions. Why are you so badly behaved? What's wrong with you? Why can't you sit still? Why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you be more like your brother? Why are you wriggling so much? And even if we do a statement, we make them go away and change it into a question. I want you to go into your bedroom and think exactly why we're cross with you. And off what happens is our imagination wanders off and comes up with all the reasons as why they're cross with us. And that's what happens. Now, the absolute key important thing here is that our unconscious mind and our imagination has to answer the question we give it. If we ask, what's wrong with me? Then it will say, what's wrong with you? It doesn't turn it around and go, yeah, but I'm all right, really. It doesn't. It just says, what's wrong with you? So if you ask the question, why am I struggling so badly? Why do I feel so terrible? Why is this talk going so badly? My imagination and my creativity, it comes up with all sorts of answers. And the more times I ask those questions, the more stuff gets made up. And this is on the background of all the stuff about yourself was said in the form of statements. So intellectually, we know we're okay. Do we feel okay really deep down? Maybe not. How's this? I've got a lot of earth energy, so I'm all the time saying, do you understand this? Is this making sense? So I do apologize. But this makes sense so far? Yeah? So we're in this situation that we're asking these questions, and we're asked of us all the time. So that's a massive challenge, but there is an answer to it, and the answer is something I call conscious questions. And these are questions that you choose to ask yourself in order to make yourself feel better, in order to make yourself okay. So a conscious question might be, when you're in a difficult situation, is you say, why can I handle this? Why can I deal with this? What aspect of my past will enable me to do this? Can you see when you ask that question, what aspect of my past will enable me to do this? Why am I okay? Why can I handle this? Why will I get through? What's special about me? Can you get, when you ask those questions, your unconscious mind has to say how you'll get through. It has to say what's special about you. Your imagination will add to it. Whereas if you ask, what's wrong with me? Why am I struggling? Why do I feel so terrible? Why do I hate my work so much? It will give every single answer to those questions, because guess what? That's what you asked. It will just answer, your imagination, your unconscious mind will only answer what you've asked. So if you get to choose what you ask, you get to choose to feel differently. So I had this big thing about worrying about making mistakes. And I would have panic attacks that I would be making a mistake and things would be going horribly wrong. So I have the conscious question, why is it my fundamental right to make mistakes? Can you see that's quite a powerful question? Why is it my fundamental right to make mistakes? And answers come up that are helpful. you've got in the workbook, we've got things to jot down, perhaps jot down and think about what could be favourite conscious questions for you. I've actually done for you a list of my 70 favourite conscious questions. And they're only £100 each. No, it's a gift for you. So they will be here for you. These are my favourite conscious questions. We've got things like, why can I handle this? Tell me why we can handle this. It's got lots of great questions you can ask yourself. And they're all broken down into different categories. When you ask a conscious question, when you ask a question consciously, conscious question, you have three responses. One is it could feel like it doesn't fit. This is getting you to just understand how these work out. It could feel that it doesn't fit. So if I was to ask the question, why am I utterly perfect and brilliant in every single way possible? A bit of me goes, oh, I'm really kind of struggling a bit with that one. I was in a supermarket and I saw Asda, and I saw a little girl come out of the changing room wearing a party dress. And her mother said to her, "Don't you look beautiful in that dress?" And she was probably 6 or 7. It had already clashed in her mind, that statement, that question statement. Don't you look beautiful in that dress? It was already clashing with her. And I could see her brain going like this. And she went, "No, I don't. I look ugly." Because it was already clashing with her. And her mother then said to her, "Why do you think you look ugly?" Well, she was on a roll, wasn't she? Well, because I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, I'm spotty, I'm blah, blah, blah. So the mother unwittingly gave her the question she needed to reinforce that statement. The mother could have said, "Why do I think you look beautiful?" And she'd have gone, "Well, because you're my mother." "Yeah? And why else do I think you look beautiful?" "Well, because I'm in a pretty dress." "Yeah, and why else do you think you're beautiful?" "Well, I don't know, because we're all beautiful." You know, it could have played along those lines, but she didn't. She said, "Why do you think you look so ugly?" And she rattled it off. Exactly. So these clashes can come really, really early on. So it could just be a clash. Nearly tripped there. That would have been funny. The second one, it has a neutral feeling. It kind of, you ask the question, not really sure, could be not, just it's kind of neutral. It could be that neutralness is because the answers are waiting to come. So, you know, if you're in the shower or someone says to you, "Oh, what's the name of that actor that was in that film that was blah, 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 blah?" And you go, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And then 20 minutes later, up pops the name of the actor. Do you get that? That's what happens with these conscious questions, both good and bad. Why am I so terrible? Why am I so useless? For the next 20 minutes, it will tell you why you're so terrible and so useless. And then you're thinking, God, I'm really struggling at the moment. God, what the hell is wrong with me? And your imagination goes, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with you. And bam, off it goes again. So it might be neutral because the good things are struggling to find their way out. Ideally, what it should do is it should give you a positive or an uplifting response. That's ideally what it should do, give you that feeling. So when you ask a conscious question, the idea is for them to make you feel better. If it doesn't, then you might want to just change it until you find one. I want you to ask the conscious question, why am I loved? Okay, so just close your eyes, just ask this question, why am I loved? Okay, who's struggled with that one? Got a struggle at the back? Anyone struggle? Anyone kind of got a clash with that or struggle with it? Yeah. So what was your? Would you mind me asking what your response to it was? He says walking across. You do mind. Yeah. He says, do you mind if I tell you? No, don't worry. Does anyone have a response to that they want to share? that it felt something funny with it? So you're all 100% fine with that? Or you don't want to say? What sometimes happens with that question is it kind of clashes a little bit, because why am I loved is a really big statement, because it can clash with... What we'll often do is you'll just soften the question very slightly and ask the question, why am I lovable? Okay? So just ask the question, why am I lovable? Okay? Who feels that question was easier than why am I loved? Yeah. Often it's an easier question. Why am I? So if you struggle with a question and it clashes or it doesn't feel right, just take it down a notch. And I've got some more examples here. Typical power question, you say why will always give a good response. Tell me why is a really good one. Tell me why I am okay. Tell me why I can do this. Tell me why I'll be able to get through. Can you feel the power in that? Tell me why I'll be able to deal with this problem. And your imagination, your unconscious mind will tell you why you will be able to deal with it. If you can't think of a question, just say, why is it important to remember that? Why is it important to remember that I will get through this? Why is it important to remember that I have something special about me? Why is it important to remember that I have a past that will lead me to greatness? Whatever that might be. Have they been helpful, those conscious questions, the idea of conscious questions? It's really important with our children and people we speak to ask, to say the things that we want them to do, any bad thing, in the form of a statement and not in the form of a question. Because remember, when the bad things are said to us, they're said with power. Why can't you sit still? What's wrong with you? It has a power. Whereas, I love you has little power. So you might say, why do I love you so much? What is it about you that I find adorable? Who made you so cuddly? Who made you so gorgeous? Who made you so brilliant? Who made you so wonderful? They're all great questions for kids to answer why they feel, and for us as adults. Can I go a bit strange on you, go a bit woo-woo, a bit odd? Would that be okay? That's a closed question, by the way, because I'm going to do it anyway. But we're going to do it anyway. You have a past, don't you? And you have a present, and you have a future. Okay? There is a certain belief that our past and our present and future are existing all at the same time. They're all wrapped up together. And it's true to a certain extent. Or certainly they're trying to show that. They've proved that. So, me in the here and the now have a certain wisdom and a certain knowledge that me in the past didn't have. So the very common thing to do is me in the present, I go back to me in the past, and I basically kick the hell out of myself for not knowing what I know now. And I do it in the form of questions. Oh, God, why was I so stupid? Why on earth did I did that? What was I thinking about? Why was I so terrible? Why did I do all those terrible things? Or why didn't I get this right? Or whatever. And we go and beat up previous versions of ourselves over something we didn't say or didn't get right or did get right, whatever. Okay? And we know we made a mistake here because in the present, we have all this wisdom, this new knowledge, and we kind of know how it worked out. So we know that this was Mr. Cockup and his 3 friends. So what we do is we go back and we beat them up. That's what we do, isn't it? The standard practice, you go up and beat up an older version of yourself with the wonderful wisdom that you have in the here and the now. Aren't you clever? Not really. Because what's happening here is your very nature of going back and beating up an earlier version of yourself is you're undermining your self-esteem in the here and the now, aren't you? You undermine who you are. You undermine your history. You undermine everything about yourself. You're knocking the foundations of who you are out, and you're going back and you're beating them up repeatedly with this wonderful wisdom of Mr. Brilliant in the here and the now. And that's what happens. The big problem is that it undermines your self-esteem, But the real big problem is in the here and the now. You know, if you make a mistake usually by stretching yourself or trying to do something different. You know, if you make a mistake in the here and the now, a future version of you is going to come back and kick the hell out of you. Because that's the deal. That's the way it works, isn't it? That we go back and beat them up. And so often what happens is we become really paralyzed in the here and the now when we really think about stretching ourselves or trying to do something big or trying to go beyond who we are. We get very limited by that because of the fear that a future version of us will come and beat us up. Does anyone relate to that, experience that? Or does anyone ever beat themselves up? Yeah. We tend to beat ourselves up. And can you see that destructive nature of when that happens? And the paralyzing effect of a future version that's going to come and beat you up if you make a mistake. We don't really step up. We don't, as a result, really step up into our greatness. So we've got a number of things going on. One is we don't recognize how brilliant we are because it's totally natural and it's really easy. We're all the time running with negative questions that tend to bring ourselves down and struggle with us. And then when we do make a mistake in the here and now, we beat ourselves up senselessly, so we become paralyzed in terms of making any future direction. So in terms of leaving your legacy, you end up with a really odd situation. You can also look at your past with all sorts of confused thinking and, may I say, lack of kind thinking. It's not kind beating up an earlier version of yourself. So a conscious question I love, and I think you should write this one down. Why is it cruel and unkind to beat up an earlier version of me? So in your workbook, and I want you to not fill this in now because I want you to think about it. I want you to think about when you've left here, the sorts of stories and the questions that you ask yourself that are actually not helping you or not helping your world. What is it that you tell yourself or ask yourself that are actually undermining your ability to be truly and utterly brilliant? Because you have a possibility of having a legacy that, I say a glowing legacy, because we have this brilliance, this brightness, and it has the ability to glow into the future, to shine a light into the future, to fundamentally make a difference. As long as we don't get in our own way and as long as we recognize our brilliance, we have an ability to have a glowing future. You know when I said about your value and what you do most naturally, in the book there's also the question, if you were to take that upper level, being that brilliant and that wonderful, the things you being thankful, if you were to take that upper level, what would that look like? So consider that. If you don't get in your own way, you're asking the right questions, you're empowering yourself, you're not making your past wrong, you're recognizing your brilliance, and your brilliance has been there all along, what could you do with that beyond where you are now? And not where you are now is not wrong, but just asking the question, what could I do if I was to take that upper level? In the spirit of kindness, which is my suggestion. These are 3 rules. You know, wood energy, we do like to have our rules. These are 3 rules that I think are really, really important, and ones that, and in the book there's a little space to write down these 3 rules that I think are really important. First one is ask questions that will help you. That's rule number 1. Make sure you ask questions that will actually help you. Because that's the kind, supportive and considerate thing that you can do for yourself. As someone that truly loves yourself and cares for yourself and wants to do the best in the world, ask questions that will support you and give you the answer that you need to be and do whatever it is you want to do. The second rule is don't beat up earlier versions of yourself. It's not clever, it's not kind, and it's not helpful. Just don't do it. Just stop it, okay? Okay? Third rule is, if you break rule 1 and 2, then don't sweat it. You know, stuff happens. We're always just try and do if you're doing rule 1 and rule 2 most of the time, that's fine. If you break break those 2 rules, then don't sweat it. Don't, oh God, I'm so terrible, I've beaten myself up again, aren't I awful? That's kind of not helpful. You know, don't sweat it, just try and do better next time. That's all, folks. That's it. Now, my pacemaker's battery needs changing, so I'll just get that sorted. I have here for you, which we can do hand at lunchtime or anything, like I say, a list of 70 plus conscious questions. Plus, I've got them on that web page for you, so you're all welcome to those. And I've got some little cards here that you can write on something that's important to remember. So it says, why is it important to remember that? And you can put anything you want. Why is it important to remember that I'm okay? Why is it important to remember that I keep trying, or whatever it is that you want to remember and have that. So, was it? Yeah, of course, yeah, cool. So those are there for you, which you'll give in the break. But questions. Do we have any questions from this, or any thoughts, or anything at all? Anything is okay. Any questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have a question on the conscious questions. And are there particular conscious questions associated with the different energies? So if you're more inclined to certain energies of those 5, are there a particular style of questions or specific conscious questions that we should be asking ourselves?
Everything.
You have to sit in rooms having conversations about what does inclusion mean, because for me inclusion would be the norm.
Yeah, so I have a question about why is it okay not to understand everything? Why will things become clear later? Why is it okay? So there are certain ones, and they're in the sheet. I've not broken them into energies, but you can do that. But that's a great question. Yeah. Find the thing that you struggle with your energy, like freedom or am I loved? Am I loved? You say, why are we all lovable? What's precious about me? What's precious about me is a really nice question for fire energy types. Okay? Any other questions? Anything else? It's all right, I've done my knees in already. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You could say, what's a non-sarcastic way to answer this question? Yeah, no, I mean, serious. You can say, what's a non-sarcastic way to answer this question? And your imagination, your unconscious mind, has to come up with a non-sarcastic way to do it. If your response to difficulty is sarcasm, which is a defense and it's fine and have no judgment, that's a habit. And so when you ask a question, it comes out with why can I do this? What would be your sarcastic why am I okay? What would be your sarcastic response to that? You're not? Okay. I think it's more of a defensive thing. So, and it may be because that question is clashing. So you might do something like, why are we all okay? Why do we all have gifts? Say gifts. Why do we all have gifts in this world? You ask that question first, and you embed that. Well, why do we all have gifts in the world? And then you ask, and why do I have gifts too? So it's an assumptive statement that says that you have them too, but you've broken it. Whereas you say, why do I have gifts? And they go, yeah, gifts at being useless, or whatever, is a defense, because it's clashing. So why do we all have gifts? And why do I have gifts too? It softens it. That makes sense? They're helpful. Yeah, but sometimes it's a clash. It's a clash. Any other kind of questions or unconscious questions or anything? Yeah? We've got a controversial question.
One of the things, I don't need
Yeah.
one of the things that listening to your story,
Yep.
your journey of your life, and when you were born and like your childhood, I think as a black person, a lot of the times we have a completely different background.
Yep.
So I find it hard to kind of like understand how you would understand completely where we're coming from. So for instance, when you talk about love and all that fluffy stuff,
Yeah.
the majority of, I don't know, from my experience, from my background, it's not something that culturally that we kind of like would have as young children, have all that lovey-dovey stuff. So the first generation didn't give us that. So
Yep.
like this generation is completely different, and we do embrace that type of conversation with our children. But I know that my parents, and even though they showed love by doing things for us, didn't verbalise that love in that way because possibly they didn't have that experience either. So I do find it a little bit hard to kind of like, when you talk about beating yourself up, I don't feel that I beat myself up about things that happened to me in the past, because whatever happened, I feel that that's something that I've kind of embraced and learned from, and I don't go back into the past and beat myself up and then jump back to the future. So I do reflect on things that have happened to me, but I don't beat myself up about it, because I feel that, your life is a journey, and that a lot of the time, the experiences that you have either make or break you, so they don't necessarily take you to the point where you want to beat yourself up about it. It's something that you learn about. So I do find it hard to kind of like grasp some of the stuff that you're saying. Not that I disagree, but I just feel that it's very difficult for you to be able to culturally understand the background of everybody, because I don't think it fits everybody, some of the stuff that you've said.
No.
But I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I just find, how would you know
Yep.
that's what that person
Yep.
experienced? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You generalise
Yeah.
about a lot of the stuff that you've said is a lot very general.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
I
Okay.
feel that with the culturally diverse,
Yeah.
there's lots of other experiences
Yep.
wouldn't necessarily fit that. Not that you're gonna, not one size doesn't fit all. But you know, I'm coming
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. What I've showed are the extreme versions of it. We're looking at extremes, and we tend to be. Some people are absolutely, although you can't relate to it, some people are absolutely sitting at the extreme that they are really struggle with anything, and some people are further along there and barely do it at all. Some people constantly ask negative questions, and the questions. Negative questions tend to come up when we're in a downward spiral. When we're really struggling, that's when we ask those questions. And when we're feeling really good, that's when we ask the other questions. So I think that I'm trying to do the extreme version of it. And I apologize, I perhaps should have said, this is the extreme version of it. And other people along the spectrum. Some people really love themselves, and some people don't care whether they love themselves or not, because that's not their energy. As in terms of our parents, I think lots of cultures have different experiences. The kind of a culture of people just really not doing any emotion in any family is really a common experience of a generation. And we can have that question, why did my parents show love in their own way? And that's a perfectly valid question for getting us to understand our parents. I take your point. I should have said this is extremes rather than this is you. Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for that, good point. Did anyone else have any other questions or thoughts? That's a great one. Anything? Could other people relate to the beating up or the not doing it? Some people do, some people don't. You're neither good nor bad, it's just how we are. So was there a... Oh, you just bought a car. Oh, yeah.
My act of kindness today is to spread a little bit of kindness as I leave the room, but I just wanted to say thank you for today, and thank you for what I feel is that you've equipped me with a tool to utilise moving forward, because I kind of resonate with what that lady was just saying there. My experience will be very different to everybody else's, but I work with teams that do beat themselves up, and I feel like that I have some resources now that I can help with colleagues and different things for the future, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm taking up too much time, so thank you very much for all your questions, for your input and everything. It's been absolutely wonderful. I hope you have plenty of things you can take away and use in everyday life. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick.